Hey friends, today on this beautiful clear day in August in Connecticut, I want to talk about one of my favorite local native healing plants, and that's jewelweed, Impatiens capensis. Impatiens occurs all over New England, but certainly all over Connecticut, and is often found in and around the wetter areas of my property, but here it is growing right in my other gardens. And it's an annual, so it seeds itself wherever it wants. And I've let this one grow, and it's a magnificent size. It's covered in blooms. And this is my go-to plant for treating poison ivy, sometimes preventing the rash of poison ivy, and sometimes treating insect bites and other types of skin irritation. The plant itself, the leaves, the stem, primarily are used directly on the skin. It's often referred to as the hiker's friend, because if you get a bee sting, a bite, or some other irritation and you're out in the field, you can break off the stems of this, and inside the leaves and stems are moist juices that when crushed can be rubbed directly on the skin to help with whatever the irritation is. But I also like to have some medicine on hand that I can use for future. So I actually harvest leaves and stems and make an extract using either witch hazel or some type of isopropyl alcohol. This is not to be consumed. This is to be used externally as a liniment. So I'll soak the plant material in the medium for 2 to 4 weeks or more, strain it, and then I have what we call a liniment that can be rubbed on an irritated skin area. This plant is also a fabulous native for pollinators, and it's also referred to in its common name as touch-me-not, and we're going to show you why they call it that. The seed pods hang down from the plant, and when the plant's old enough and the seed pods get fat and start to dry out ever so little, then that's when the seeds get dispersed just by touching the bottom. And the wind will blow them, they'll run into a leaf, and then they'll explode. There is nothing more fun for little kids than ripe seed pods of jewelweed to go and touch and have the seed pods roll up and explode all over the place. It is so much fun. But these are a little young yet. Oh, these two are pretty ripe. When they're ripe and pretty much ready to throw their seeds, they're quite fat. They get a little more translucent. And it takes usually very little to get them to... Ooh, there goes one. It popped. There goes. They go flying off with their seeds going in every direction. Really fun. Yeah, I'm a senior. It's really fun for me, but it's really fun for little kids. This is the seed pod after it's exploded. It actually is all tightly wound like a spring, and when it explodes, 3 or 4 sides here curl up so that the seed can go flying. These are like little curls. They're all curled up. And that was the seed pod before before it let go of all of its seeds. And the spring action is what makes the whole thing pop so fast and makes it so fun. Ah, the bees love this flower. They climb right inside. There's a bee with his butt hanging out of that one. He's going to go in and up. There's another one right there. They go climbing right inside. Hummingbirds like this as well. So I've seen hummingbirds in these flowers this morning. You can see the flower is spotted, sometimes called spotted jewelweed. Super pretty. So I'm going to cut a bunch of this right now. I could have cut it before it flowered as well. At any point up to flowering and beyond flowering, it can be cut. I'm going to want to take the stems and leaves. I'm going to take a bunch of them, and I'm going to make the extract using witch hazel I happen to have a lot of witch hazel. I'll use witch hazel this time. I'm gonna put this and the witch hazel in my blender and make a slurry that will sit for the 2 to 4 weeks. Then I'll strain it, and then I can use it as is, or I can combine it with other skin-loving plants like plantain, calendula, chickweed, into a liniment that has all of them in it for treatment of itchy skin kinds of things. The other thing though that I could do is I could make a poultice right now by taking a whole bunch of this and putting it directly on an itchy area and wrapping it with gauze. Something I started doing last year was to put this in the blender with water and blend it all up and then freeze ice cubes of it, so that if in the middle of winter we've got some type of a situation where somebody's feeling itchy, the ice cubes can then be taken out and rubbed to cool off the area. I haven't had to use that very often because usually the itchies come in the summer. But I'm going to get a bunch of this and I'm going to go for it. The other use that I might mention for this, and I've not used it this way before, but is for athlete's feet, because apparently studies have revealed that there is an antifungal property associated with this plant, as well as the anti-inflammatory actions that help relieve itching. So it's this common native plant with history of use by indigenous peoples for the things that I've spoken about is around us everywhere, and frankly, because it's an annual, it's easy to pull out where it's not wanted. I let it grow wherever it wants to grow and then remove it if I don't want it somewhere. But it's fabulous. The pollinators love it. Everybody should have it who can grow it. I don't have any doubt at all that the best use of jewelweed is directly using the fresh plant material on whatever itchy thing is happening, whether it's poison ivy or bug bites. But I like to also have something available to use should I not be in an area where the fresh plant is. So I do prepare this every year in some formulation or other. Today I'm going to extract it in a witch hazel product that does not contain alcohol, but it does contain aloe and rose and some other really nice things. But I am going to add half of it, the liquid, half of it is going to be rubbing alcohol, because I want to not have the plant material go bad. Mold can form on plant material soaking in a water-based solution, and so I definitely do not want that to happen, and I want to be able to preserve it over time. So I'm going to cover this with these two liquids, cap it, store it in a cool, dark place for 2 to 4 weeks. Then I'll strain it off, and I usually put it in little spray bottles so I can spray the area that's bugging me. But sometimes not before I mix it with a similar extract of chickweed or a similar extract of calendula or plantain. Those are all good combinations for skin irritation. All right, capped and ready to go into storage, but not before we label. Label everything. If you're making more than one thing at a time, your memory may or may not serve you, and you may not know what the mystery plant is in the bottle, because plants change when they're in their menstruums or their liquid. So I do a label that includes everything that's in the jar, the size of the jar, the date, and that I want it to sit for 2 to 4 weeks, and then I'm going to strain it. You can put any amount of information on a label that you want that will help you remember what to do. But when this is all done and I put it in smaller bottles, I'll do a formal computer label that says exactly what this is. For now, this is my temporary label and the formula. My prepared jewelweed is ready to go on my storage shelf, cool, dark place, 4 to 6 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, or 4 to 6 weeks, depending. It won't be bad after 4 weeks. At that point, it'll be ready to use, and I look forward to having more on my shelf. Just because I like to let you know where I get my information from, here's 2 more wonderful resources: The Dandelion Hunter by Rebecca Lerner, and Brad Angier's Medicinal Wild Plants. Both of these are great resources when you're looking at using things that are found in the backyard or in the woods. And if you look down in the description later, you'll see how you could obtain these resources for yourself. Happy wildcrafting, folks. Bye-bye.